This episode is specifically related to the predator pattern one, and these are the people that enable people that are predator like and have like predator tendencies. And the first one we're going to talk about, they find victims for the perp. So, like, for example, um, when my mother, when, when all the people that I feel like my dad had the most um, association with, that I personally feel like he probably went after or tried to like get close to, and then they would like eventually disappear. They would, anyway, what I'm trying to say is they find the enablers of these predators usually find victims for the predators so that they can continue to abuse them. So my mom would be friends with other people's other people within the church and without, and like in general, and just groups of people. She would be friends with she would befriend the people, and then she'd get close with their family, and then eventually she'd like they'd invite them to the house, and then I would just like not see them anymore. And I noticed that it was a pattern within my sister's friendships and within people that I honestly wasn't even friends with. It was more like my parents got close to their kids, got close to their parents, and then the kids eventually ended up knowing me. And the height of the just when I was being more assaulted around the time before I became trafficked, I remember there being a lot of other kids there and them all having either two girls in their family, and it was a two-parent household, but a lot of the men were very similar and a lot of the women personalities were similar. So they go to the people that, they don't have a very strong family dynamic. Like the men aren't very, they're not very like protective men, and the women are very much like a single household mentality where it's like the wife is the head of the household, and the men were more of like just kind of there, and like they weren't really leading the household. And I remember my parents making friends with a lot of those type of people, and then eventually the friendships just disappeared. So enablers for like these type of predator people, they always find like people to get close to so that the predator can like have access essentially. And then second thing is the enablers always are great liars. My mom is an exceptional liar, and like I am I am what? I'm almost 30, and there's literally things that I still don't know. I don't know how my parents really met. I honestly wasn't even sure about like if they were my parents at times. There's like just like they lie about everything. Like there's nothing that they don't lie about. They just lie about everything. Like things that aren't even substantial to lie about. Like they'll lie about how they grew up, or if they were a drinker, or if they had a best friend, or the people that raised them. My mom always told me that her dad was like this terrible guy. And then when I moved here, everybody was like, no, her dad was amazing. He's like the greatest person we ever met. And I was like, she didn't tell me that. Um, so they always lie. People that are connected to like the predator patterns. Like predators, they always lie. Like if you guys, what I mean by enablers also is like, like in like prostitution movies, or like movies where girls are trafficked, there's always a woman typically that works with them, and my mom was very similar to that. That's what I mean by an enabler, and a person that like is helping them continue doing the stuff that they want to do. So 3, they're always very personal. Like it seems like if I say, hey, how are you today, you had a good day, that's great. It's more of like they seem personable, but they're not really being personable. They're actually digging for information about you. Like if my mom came up to me and asked me how school was, or if I like something specific, it wasn't because that she actually wanted to know what I like or dislike. It was literally that she would ask me stuff to know personal things about me so that she could use it against me. Like, for example, I didn't like chicken. Um, and I told them directly I don't like chicken. So you know what we ate all the time? We ate chicken. I said, hey, I don't like thin crust pizza. Um, you know what we ate? Thin crust pizza. Or so it's like from a young age I had to develop not sharing what I liked and just didn't like, so that I could actually get what I wanted. So if I what like for example, I loved being a musician, but I had to seem very indifferent to it, because if I wasn't, then it would be taken away from me. So it's like they don't care about anything in your life. They just want to use it against you. And then 4, they understand emotions, but they have no true emotions, which is very true. My mom would be very emotionally in tune to what was going on in the house, but she didn't actually have like empathy or sympathy or compassion. She just pretended she did. Like I remember one time I was in a doctor's appointment, and for whatever reason my mom was there. She really shouldn't have been there, because I was at least 22, so she didn't really need to be there. But it's like she just invaded everything, and it's not like I had an option of being like, yeah, mom, don't come with me. Like if she was there, she was gonna be there, because she just wouldn't. They're like suffocating too. But anyway, like I remember the doctor was like, hey, have you ever had like any suicidal ideations, or ever attempted any of that? And I was like, for the first time I was like, yeah. And my mom didn't even like, she was like, she immediately answered for me, and then she was like, oh. And then when we like left the appointment, never talked to me about it, never asked me if I was okay, never like sympathized or said, hey, what's going on, or anything. Which also actually brings me back to number 3, which is personal but digging for information. Like stuff like that. When I told her I was struggling with mental health, she used that to try to tell me that she was going to send me to, at that time in Florida it was called Lakeside, which was like a mental health thing where they could like Baker Act you. And she would, if I didn't listen to whatever she wanted me to do, she would be like, I'm gonna take you to Lakeside. So like, yeah, they don't really have, they don't, when I confided, it was used against me. And then when there was like a time for her to be caring, she didn't care. So they understand what emotions are, and she knew how to manipulate them, but she didn't really feel them. And then 5, a level of superiority. So a lot of the times, these If you notice in like those movies where it's like the girls are being prostituted and then the man is prostituting them, but he's also sleeping with the lady that is over the prostitutes, as well as it's like they always had a sense of like, I'm better than y'all because I'm the lead and I'm not a prostitute, but I'm over you guys and you guys are beneath me because you're doing something that everybody else is unacceptable, and they think they're like better, and like they just treat them low. That's how I was treated. But at that time, I didn't know that I was being abused in that way. I just thought it was normal because I was born into it. So, but yeah, my mom had like a level of superiority. Like, even if I didn't do something wrong, she would tell me that I did something wrong and that I was like dirty and like less than. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. But anyway, and then 6. Yeah, a strong care of money or evil over morals. So when I was living with my parents, I believe I was like 20, 23, 24. At that time, I remember that I did confront my biological father about, at that time, I thought it was only molestation. So I was like, hey, I told my mom about it. I said I was uncomfortable about it. I guess she or I decided we were going to confront my dad about it, and instead of her being like, yeah, that's wrong, or no, he can't be here,